found that every time that you come to an obstacle in life or in business, it's not about going around it. It's about going through it. Everything that you want is on the other side, whether that's fear or a relationship or whatever. You have to just take it head on. And if you try and avoid it, that thing will haunt you forever.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Championship Leadership Podcast. We got Dave Valentine here in the house today, and appreciate you being here, man. Thank you.
Oh, super excited to be here, Nate. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to hop right into it. Championship Leadership is the name of the podcast. What comes to mind for you? What does championship leadership mean to you when you hear that?
Relentless, brother. Got to be relentless. Yeah, man. We
like that.
It's always a challenge to be a leader, and can be lonely. The only thing that may keep you warm at night when you're tossing and turning is how relentless you're going to be.
Definitely. Yeah. I guess I think of Tim Grover when I hear Relentless from his book.
Oh, yes. It's a great book.
Great book. Yeah. It's and that's championship leadership too, at a whole nother level right there. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and your path and journey to get where you are today and what it is that you're up to today?
Yeah, man. So I'm a military brat. Grew up traveling around the country. I lived in 15 different houses in 13 different cities before I graduated high school. My dad's joke was if they stationed him at a base, they were going to shut down the squadron or they were going to shut down the base. So, one of the things that I did growing up was I just became very adept at handling any sort of situation. A lot of people saw that as a disadvantage. It was a challenge as a kid. I would be remiss if I didn't say that. And it made me pretty resilient. So as a kid, I just had this entrepreneurial drive. I, at the age of 4, started selling my 4-year-old artwork to friends and family. The first thing that I ever sold was a picture that I drew at 4 years old for $40.
Nice.
Back in the 80s. That's a good bit of money.
Things got to be worth way more today.
I'm impressed. And then when I was in late elementary school, I started selling candy bars and erasers and pens and pencils out of my backpack.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've just always had this drive to create commerce, I guess. And I started my first grown-up business at 25. I started a catch-all digital marketing agency. Had no idea what I was doing, right, Nate? I was just making it work, brother. And a couple months before we launched that business, my wife and I found out that we were pregnant with our first kiddo. And so I was like, well, damn, I've got to make this work now.
Right. Yeah.
So started building that up. And I ended up having to split ways with my business partner at the time, who was also my best friend. And that was really challenging. And by the time I was 29, so 4 years into it, I went to the doc, and I hadn't had a checkup since I was, high schooler playing sports. I was a multi-sport athlete, played football, baseball, soccer, weightlifting, and I had always been in pretty good shape. But truth be told, I had 2 kids. I had a business that was growing really quickly. We had just done 7 figures that year that I went to the doc, and I was married, and so I was like, there's a lot going on. So I had kind of stopped working out. I'd stopped praying and meditating. I'd stopped doing some very vital self-care things. So I go to the doc for a checkup. We do the checkup. Week later, go back, and he goes, "Hey, Dave, how do you know you're going to have a heart attack?" I don't understand the question, doc. He goes, "We've tested 4,500 people. You're the most stressed out person we've ever tested."
Wow. Dang.
Dude, I'm 29.
Yeah.
He goes, "You're not going to make it to 40. Whoa. So that was like a wake-up call. I started to reimagine, how do I build a business that doesn't need me to be everything to everyone, right? Yep. And so in that process, it was the germination for what has developed over the next 7 years, really. And so for me, I started to go, okay, well, I can't keep doing this business, because in this business, no matter how great my staff is, my staff was legitimately fantastic. The clients always want to talk to me.
Yeah.
They just, they always, hey, Dave, can you fly out to New York and present this to the board in 3 weeks? Hey, can you come to Knoxville next week? We need you. We'll pay for your flight. We'll pay for your hotel. We'll pay for your time in the room, but we need you in the room. So it just became one of these perpetual treadmills where I just wasn't seeing my young, growing family enough. I was stressed out. And even as I started to incorporate working out and meditating back into my habits, it just wasn't enough. And so I ended up selling that company. And out of that, over the past 3.5 years, we have either started or purchased 8 different companies from that. And so right now I work remotely and run 8 different companies that 6 of which are doing 7 figures. And so it's exciting. It's fun. And I don't work 80 to 100-hour work weeks. I'm working like 35 to 50-hour work weeks.
Okay. Nice.
So it's a good time, man.
Love it. Yeah. What types of companies?
Yeah. So the nucleus of my companies are agencies. What I ended up doing differently, there was a big shift, Nate, was my first agency was like, how can I do everything for everyone?
Yeah.
Because somebody would come to me and they'd be like, hey, we have a great relationship. You guys are doing a great job with our digital ads. Can you run our social media? Sure. We do that for a few months. Man, you guys are just doing awesome. Can you run our newsletter? Yeah, sure. We can do that. Hey, can you do? And so it just became this thing that grew and grew and grew. And it's really hard to find staff for that.
Yeah.
It's really challenging to find success and streamline for that. So what I do now is I have 3 agencies that I own right now. One of them is a branding agency. They have the most diverse set of services, and they have 2 services.
I love it.
I have a PR firm. They have 2 services, and they do this wild thing where they combine those 2 to create a 3rd service.
Man.
I have an outsourced SDR agency. So they are an outsourced sales development rep agency. So they'll book meetings directly onto your calendar for if you're like, hey man, I'm a business and I need to have other meetings with other businesses to sell them. They're a great one for that. I have my own consulting firm because I meet with a lot of entrepreneurs, and honestly, Nate, like my passion is entrepreneurship and small business. That's where the game's at, man.
Right.
It's crazy to me. 69% of people employed in the country employed by a small business. 98% of all of our exports in this country come from small business. Like, think about that. That's just such a high number. And we get all this like lip service from politicians that's very upsetting to me. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go do something about small business. I'm going to go help it be successful. So I do some consulting in that space. I own a couple SaaS products. One is called Longtail Pro. It helps small businesses with their SEO, their search engine optimization. Another one is called Trust Scout, and it helps people get video reviews for their small businesses. And everyone needs a video review. You can't convince me otherwise. If you're a nail salon, you need video reviews. If you're a law group, you need video reviews. So it's a really fun product, and it's very cheap and accessible to anyone. And then I own a flight school with my brother. In Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah, man. It's you know what? You got to keep it fun.
Yeah.
We own 4 airplanes, and right now we've got 19 students.
Okay.
And then the last one is a digital asset management and cybersecurity firm. And so I didn't know this until I got into this space, Nate, but did you know that the average employee that works from their laptop spends 56 minutes a day searching for files? And then they spend another 4 hours a week creating files that already exist. I didn't know that. But wow, that's a lot. They're spending over a whole day creating something that already exists or searching for things that should just be readily accessible. So Deft is the name of that company, and it basically helps you find your files quickly and make sure you're not duplicating something unnecessarily. So that's it, man.
Sounds useful. Yeah. Love it. We'll shift gears here. Who are some championship leaders, coaches, mentors that you've had that have helped you along the way? And more so, like, what are some of the characteristics about those individuals that have really stood out to you?
Yeah, I've had a number of different ones. It's interesting, Nate. I don't know if I'm sure this has been the case for you. I'm interested in asking you this though. I have mentors who have mentored me throughout the years. And I always feel like there's a point in time where I outgrow a mentor. Have you had the same experience?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Especially in certain areas for sure. Yeah.
I had this, I had a mentor when I was in late high school and early college. And one of the gifts that he gave me was thoughtfulness, how to think through a problem. And he also gave me confidence to be able to go do whatever I wanted to go do. Right. He was like, you
Mhm.
could go do this. He was like, of course you wouldn't know all the details. He's like,
Yeah.
but you'd figure it out. You're a smart guy. You work hard. You'd figure it out. Um, he also encouraged me just to go give it a go, you know? So
Yeah.
he'd be like, I was learning marketing. I was one of those kids that I just wanted to get to work, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to college.
Yeah.
I did, but I didn't want to.
Yeah. Right.
And so he was like, well, hey, let's bring you in and do some video editing. I was like, I've never done video editing. He's like, well, figure it out. This was before YouTube. You know, I was running Friendster. When I tell my junior staff that now, they're like, what? I finally had somebody the other day ask me what MySpace is, and I about died. And so anyways, it was cool. He gave me an environment to fail. And I think that that's one of the things that great leaders do, Nate, is they give people a safe spot to fail in their development. As I kind of graduated on, my mentors became people that were far away that I didn't talk to. Right. And so I started to have mentors that were guys that had died, you know, where I had mentors of people that are currently here, but they taught me one thing that was really important or two things that were really helpful. I had one mentor in my early agency career who really helped me see that I was not going to get anywhere if I didn't lose my former business partner, if I didn't buy him out, because he was holding me back.
Mhm.
That's an invaluable lesson. That was probably the one lesson that I got from him, but it was invaluable.
Yeah.
So for me at this point, you know, leadership and mentoring, the people that kind of pour into me, I go to different people for different things. I think that what's interesting though too, Nate, is like I'm in this weird spot where like I can appreciate what so many people have to say. Like, and I mean that sincerely. Like I appreciate it. And there's like no one at this point that I'm like, yeah, they've got the whole picture for me. There may be a person that has creativity. There may be a person that has the ability to develop some marketing and sales skills for me. There may be a person that's got some really good organizational thoughts, but across the board at this point, and I think it's just a matter of I've been in this game for so long, this entrepreneurial game for so long now, that I'm starting to have the same thoughts as those people. And so the only places where I really find like a pervasive mentorship at this point is from a spiritual perspective. And so there are people that still fill my soul from a spiritual perspective that actually help me lead the businesses with more humanity, transparency, and accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah, those would be my thoughts.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you. What's the vision for you and you know, everything that you're up to? You got a number of different companies, and you know, many of them seem to have a lot of synergy, but you know, then you also got a flight school, but I'm sure we could figure out a way to make that make sense with the other ones as well. But yeah, what's, you know, championship leadership, I think great leaders have great vision and courage to take action on that. So what's maybe the vision for you and what you want to do over the next 5-10 years, and more importantly, I always say the impact that you want to make through that?
Man, the vision's huge. The vision's huge, Nate. We want to own 2,000 companies and employ 200,000 people. And the reason for that is really simple.
By a certain time, or?
Yeah, we say 20 years.
Okay.
Because it's clean. If it
Yeah.
happens quicker than that, that'd be great.
Sure.
I've developed some really great relationships and partnerships in the past 12 months in particular that I think that number could happen quite sooner.
Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons why we have the marketing agencies and that background is that I figured out early on, if you can uncover how to generate web traffic, leads, meetings, that's the first step to building a great business. Everyone thinks it's the product or the service. You can build that plane as it goes. If you don't have any revenue coming in, you can't figure that out. And so my thing is, I always want to go sell more. I always want to go get more leads. I want to have more impact in that space. The big thing for me is, man, every time that someone talks about how business is evil or it's not helpful or whatever, what they mean is corporations have been divorced from their own humanity, right? They've become too bottom line centric and not concerned about the people that are working there. So we hear about layoffs and it's sterile and it's divorced from these people that are real people that have families and lives and backgrounds and stories. And one of the things that's great about small business, and the reason why it's 2,000 companies and 200,000 employees, we have a lot of great data that shows that humans can't really have relationships with more than 150 people at a time.
Yeah.
So like a famous story about this is Gore-Tex. Gore-Tex has like 6,300 employees.
Mm-hmm.
They will build a factory and they will not put more than 150 people in it because they want them to have relationships with everyone that's there. They could have more efficiencies by having one central factory, one central location, but they actively make the decision not to. And they've been doing that for 30 years now. And so this isn't like a new thought for them. This is like an old thought that they're staying true to a core value. And so for us, it's like one of our core values is humanity. And we think that we should lead with humanity. So our core values are tenacity, curiosity, initiative. And then the bottom three are accountability, transparency, humanity. So for all of our staff, the top three, tenacity, curiosity, and initiative, are really, really important. They're in order of importance, right? Yeah. But when we get into leadership, we tell our leadership team, you have to reverse the order. They have to lead with humanity, transparency, accountability. And so anyways, the long story short in this is we want to change the world. We want to be big enough with this portfolio of companies that people see us as a large corporation. We have the weight of a large corporation in the United States to influence policy and decision-making. And we never lose the heartbeat of we are a group of small companies that really wants to change the world and make it a better place to live. Like I'm at the point, Nate, where I don't have any confidence in our governmental political system.
What?
It's shocking. I know no one's going to agree. And so I'm like, well, then let's go build it ourselves, man. If we think it should be some other way, let's make it some other way. And let's make it so compelling that people are like, we need to change the standards for how we engage with employees as employers, in part because this really crazy guy named Dave has employed so many people. We don't have the option not to anymore. That's the new standard for work. And so we just think that there's a better way forward.
Yeah. Love that. That's great. What's a moment for you, I guess to call it like a critical moment where you decided the path that you did, which has you where you are today, but had you chosen differently, be in a much different place? I think there's a lot of power for people in those places right now to learn from others and how they made decisions. Is there a moment that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's been like 7, but the one that was early on that was really important. The first 18 months of the first business that I started, I would wake up at 5. I'd work on the business from about 5:15 until 7:45. Shower, get dressed, go work a 9-to-5 job. Come home, hang out with my wife, hang out with my baby girl. Be done with that about 7:30 at night, and then work from 7:30 to 10:30 on the business. And then on the weekends, I'd work a full day Saturday and a full day Sunday on the business. So 18 months into that, my daughter is 9 months old.
Yeah.
Almost. And my wife goes, listen, You can do the day job, you can do the business, but we never see you. So pick one. I don't care which one you pick. And I hadn't paid myself a dime yet from the business.
Uh-huh.
I had been paying my business partner, but I hadn't paid myself anything. And I made the choice to take $10,000 from my dad on a
Yeah.
loan. My dad gave me the $5 to go buy the candy bars. Why not 10 grand later?
Right.
And we lived off 10,000 because I'd already spent savings on building the business, right? So I had nothing.
Yeah.
So we took that 10 grand and we lived off $2,000 a month for 5 months in a row. And I told my wife that if I couldn't pay myself at least $30,000 a year at the end of that 5 months, I'd stop. And we signed a big client, and we made it work. And so that was a moment. And it's so funny looking back now, Nate, like having, I don't know, $15 million in revenue across the businesses at this point, and commanding the salary that I do, and having the employees that I have being employed, and they make way more than I ever made, and
Yeah, right.
and that was a crucial moment to make that decision to keep going with the business, even though it had been 18 months with no reward.
Yeah.
That this was the path.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it because many people could have very easily chose the other path for sure. And many, I guess, do, but clearly you didn't. So, and it has you where you are today, part of the story, right?
Yep.
In the moment, the weight of it, I'm sure was really heavy, but now you look back and you probably just laugh, right? Like, man.
I found that every time that you come to an obstacle in life or in business, it's not about going around it. It's about going through it. Everything that you want is on the other side, whether that's fear or a relationship or whatever. You have to just take it head on. And if you try and avoid it, that thing will haunt you forever.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, as we wrap up, if there's one thing you could share, that if the listener, right now implements, will help move their life forward today, what would that be?
Yeah. If you're man, if you're trying to grow a business, I just literally, before we were talking, Nate, I was having this exact same conversation with another business. I had several other team members on a call, and we were talking through this. So the thing that I would say is a lot of small businesses miss that there's an opportunity to acquire new customers by creating outrageous offers, something that sounds too good to be true, but actually brings more customers through your door, whether that's digital or physical, and generates more sales. And so what I'd love to do, Nate, I usually do workshops on how to create these outrageous offers, and they take 90 minutes, and I charge $5,000 for people to attend. But I've created an e-course and I've been selling it, but I'd love to give it to your listeners for free, if that's cool.
Oh yeah. Appreciate it.
So they can go to davevalentine.co. And if you go there, you'll just see a pop-up that comes up with that available. If you want to join in and get in access to that, it takes about 45 minutes to go through the teaching. And then you can just kind of go through your own exercise of how to create those offers. I'm going to tell you right now, it's the reason why all my companies grow really fast, is because we create these offers and it works in every industry. So it's really fantastic. Yeah,
that's wonderful. I appreciate that. And definitely encourage you listening here right now to go and take advantage of that. I appreciate your time today, Dave. It's been a great conversation for the listener. If you want more incredible content from the great humans like Dave Valentine, then stay right here and get ready for the next episode. Appreciate it, Dave. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too, brother.